To the contrary of Kirby, I have many fond memories of Donkey Kong. Some of my earliest recollections are centered around playing these games, and because of that, I'll warn you now that I'm gonna be biased. So, I'm making this video twofold, once for all you youngins that might only know about the original games from a passing glance, and for people like me that can't wait for an opportunity to talk about how great it still is. Originally, I wanted to cover every game in the Country series, but while I was making this video, I found I had so much to say just about this first game. So, just fair warning off the bat, I'm going to talk about nearly every level here, so if you haven't played the game, I would recommend giving it a try and then coming back to this little shindig. If you wanted to see the origins of the Donk, I would suggest checking out my previous video before Mario was Super for those arcadey vibes. We want to get to where Donkey Kong found its character, style, and charm, and to do so, we need to take a back road deep into the country. The opening hits us with Cranky Kong cranking out the original theme on a phonograph. The music slowly builds up until our main Kong drops a boombox and hits us with that remix theme. Kranky, naturally, throws an IED at us. It only took 30 seconds for this game to perfectly explain what it is. This ain't your dad's girders and mustache. It's the 90s, and we're cool now, I imagine. I don't remember. From here, we jump straight into the game. Now, when I was growing up, it didn't look like this. My ape was of the handheld persuasion. I'm gonna save your eyes the trouble of looking at this, but it was an extremely good port for its time. The weight and movement is spot on, and I love that it automatically saves after every level. I mean, the original game doesn't do that, not to mention basically every other title on the Game Boy Color. Now, before we jump into these levels, I just wanted to warn you that I'm about to go into extreme depth about this first area, Congo Jungle. It is genuinely one of the best introductions I have ever seen in a game, and it perfectly captures what the adventure is going to entail in just 6 levels. You want to know the story? Here it is.
Congus wake up. Go get banana. Banana's gone. Sad.
That's all the motivation you need story-wise. The real depth of this game is what it shows you rather than anything it says. If you go back up into your house, you can find a secret balloon, but just take a moment to breathe in the detail they added here. Butterflies hover around the flowers next to your bed, bananas strewn all over the floor, the fish in the painting, it swims around. This optional area takes the platforming foundation and crafts that feeling that it's truly being lived in. We haven't even started the game and it's already established a wonderful character that defines itself from the original arcade titles. You burst from your house and immediately see 2 staples of the gameplay, an enemy and a DK barrel. Busting that open, you get your first sight of the brilliant hit point system. You only get 1 hit before you lose, so finding the second monkey gives you another chance to continue the game, which naturally keeps you looking for another barrel to replenish your buddy. That may seem like an overly analytical explanation of the system, but that's due to how well it's implemented. It's not just another hit, it's Diddy Kong. He's faster and smaller so you can play recklessly, while DK is slower but big enough to handle the tougher enemies. You can switch between the two whenever you feel like it, and if you ask most people, you'll find that they prefer playing as Diddy. The fact that these 2 primates are defined enough to have a preference means you can't help but notice how perfectly the system works. And on top of that, you immediately run into your first animal friend, Rambi. Now you don't even need to jump to kill enemies, including the wall. There are secrets in the walls. You leave that zone and then immediately find another secret in the walls. While you're still trying to get your head around all this, you walk to the end of the level as the sun sets, getting ready for whatever the next level's gonna bring. That's not even mentioning the Kong letters or the animal trophies or the secrets hidden in the trees. Everywhere you look, there's something to find without it feeling cluttered or bloated. You do a janky little dance and walk to the next stage. This is where they introduce the weather effects. Some stages have different climates like a thunderstorm or a blizzard. They mainly just make the screen busy with the different effects, but it's still a nice touch that adds a lot to the world building. This is also the first stage where the floor goes MIA, relying on your ability to traverse swinging ropes and dodging bees. Remember that fortune favors the bold, with your first opportunity usually being your best. Usually. This is also a great example of the Kong letters. Every level has these 4 emblems somewhere off the beaten path, and collecting all of them gives you a life. It's here that they teach you to keep an eye open for hidden areas, as they always lead to something from bananas to a bonus stage. You get a chance to talk to Kranky, and he spends most of his time berating you while subtly giving you hints on your upcoming levels. Canonically, he is the actual DK from the arcade games, while your character is DK Jr. Although I think this is currently a retcon from Big Daddy Nintendo, it does make sense to push the story ahead and free itself from the past. Our next stage is a cave, which is a perfect transition from the jungle top. The music reverberates off the tight-knit platforms while you squeeze through these crevices. Some of the enemies are actually placed in places that can catch you off guard, and you finally get a taste of the game pushing the difficulty up, but we still have a slow build until we get to anything truly daunting. As for atmosphere, this is just a taste of what we get in the next level. Everybody hates underwater levels, right? Well, Donkey Kong took that idea and found a way around it with a wonderful solution. If we only rated games off music, underwater ambience would make these levels the finest experience of all time. They found a way to make water levels fun, not through making it faster or action-packed, but through its calm atmosphere prompting the player to take a slow, methodical approach. Instead of wishing the game wouldn't halt its pace for a sluggish level, you're happy to take an almost soothing trip through a serene water world. Alright, so here's the thing about Barrel Cannon Canyon. I have never seen the first half of this level, and I don't plan on seeing it now. This is the first time I found 3 of the animal trophies to play the bonus for it. Something about these hundreds of tiny spinning gold collectibles is magical. I feel like a rat living in a cheese wheel. The second half of this level is the first tricky section you face. The timing of these barrels is just a little more complex with each shot. It might not seem like much now, but this is going to be a whole ordeal here soon. Finally, we reach the first world's boss, a giant beaver surrounded by thousands of bananas. Hit him on the head 6 times, and you get the giant Nintendo banana. I won't lie to you, I don't particularly care for the bosses in this game. The strength of the gameplay is in its platforming and atmosphere, and these stages are always in a big banana cave, and victory is generally doing one thing a few times in a row. All of this, everything that we just went through, was just the first 14 minutes of the game. And in that time, we have seen the jungle from multiple settings, caves, water levels, and a boss to tie it all together. The greatest thing about that is the rest of the game is going to follow up on everything that we've seen here, but slowly raise the challenge and introduce brand new settings and mechanics that only strengthen that core experience. We head to the monkey mines and realize that this ain't just gonna be fumbling around in the jungle. This adventure spans far and wide. This first level is thematically great. It feels like we're entering in a giant mining system that's haphazardly kept together with these hanging rafters. This leads us to the nail-biting test of reflexes, Mine Cart Carnage. Yeah, I don't know what everyone's talking about. This is the easiest stage so far. Nah, I'll do it for real. This level is actually a huge step up in difficulty. It's the first time we have an on-rails platforming section, which is a brilliant take on the concept of an auto-scroller. They definitely don't take it easy. Off the bat, you are doing tight jumps over falling carts with crocodiles hurtling your way. It never feels unfair though. The cart has a set speed and it leaves you with just one button to worry about. You live and die by your reflexes. After this, you get to do a little cave schmoovin', mainly getting used to the way the tires bounce you and how to use that to your advantage. You're gonna need this knowledge for the next stage, the stop and go station. This is the first time we run into enemies that are straight up invincible. You have to hit these barrels to make them go to sleep, and buddy, this is nerve-wracking. The stress this level puts on you is compounded by the flickering red and green lights dishonestly telling you if you're safe or about to die. The final section is just cruel with how short the light stays on, but if you're sick, you can style on them. Our cave gives way to a giant set of ruins. The scope of this place is so unique and new that it's amazing they put all this effort into just a touch of a new zone. This is something we're gonna see a lot of going forward, and it gives the game a fresh feeling even when you're just jumping and running around like you've been doing the entire time. After Kranky decides to break the fourth wall, we face the final boss of this zone. You already know how I feel about this, but at least we have a brand new enemy. I always thought Neki was a flamingo back in the day, but thinking about it now, it makes more sense that they're a vulture. You know, like the other vultures. After a short and sweet battle, we make our way to Vine Valley. It's in this world that the game stops holding your hand. Off the bat you have Vulture Culture, which is a marathon of barrels and birds. It's here that they show you that the barrels are going to take some slick timing to get right, and they aren't always going to face the way you want them to. Also, watch ahead, because there's a good chance stuff is actively flying towards you. This forest environment lends itself beautifully to the next level Treetop Town. I can't be the only person that gets a strong Ewok vibe from this setting, but I do know that I vibe with it. It feels so busy in the background, and I love the way you curve your movement while walking on these circular platforms. Gameplay-wise, it's a whole other story. First of all, I followed this banana and it killed me. I know now that you're supposed to use the barrel, but I feel betrayed. That's the tone these barrel sections set because for whatever reason, I cannot wrap my head around timing these automatic blast boys. I have no idea how you expect me to get that ostrich trophy, and I never will. I hope you learned a lot from Vulture Culture because it's got a sequel. I mean, it starts with this, and then it ends with this. I don't need to talk anymore about it. You zip over the ocean and get back to that Aztec aesthetic, now with those wheel-bound beavers on the move. I would compare this to the chase section of Crash Bandicoot, but I feel like I would be thrown outside for doing so. We jump back into the jungle environment for the last time, and I think this is my favorite of them all. The dusk setting mixed with the newfound challenge is a reflection of how far we've come and how much more we have to go. It all cools down into an underwater section, and this time with giant enemy clams between tiger sharks. It's at this point that I always remember being stuck on as a kid. The whole zone just gave me a gnarly, rotten vibe, and I'm not sure why. If anything, this is just the right amount of heat to keep you engaged without waterlogging your controller with sweat. We fight a giant bee, yeehaw, and then we are out of the woods and into the Arctic. I sure hope you've been paying attention because there ain't no more lessons from here on out. It's all up to you, big dog. This is where it all comes down to the wire. We drop into a beautiful snowscape with enemies around every corner. Slowly, a blizzard overtakes the mountainside as we are meant to blast through these rotating barrels. The storm thickens, making every new obstacle that much harder to see. Each shot is so precise that the slightest fault will send you flying to almost certain death. This is the level of play needed. This is the game putting you out of your comfort zone to achieve over overwhelming odds. Is what I would have said if I didn't mistime this here jump and somehow stumble onto an express route to the exit. We take those. The storm leads us to a frozen cavern, and it is gorgeous. This whole level is filled with these shiny gems like you're inside a massive geode, though I will say a few of the enemies are placed in pretty unfair spots. I'd be hard-pressed to believe anybody could see this coming. These automatic ropes add a nice twist to the verticality of the level. It's just a light enough touch to the momentum that it would be sorely missed, although sometimes jumping off them can feel a little janky. The next stage runs a similar vibe to the initial barrel blizzard, but this time with more ground to stand on and a much higher margin for error. It almost feels like these two levels should have been swapped, but once again, just a dork on the internet. We get to try out this environment's take on a water level, and at these temperatures we have a true to form frozen ape. This level takes the original methodical gameplay and crushes it with the introduction of trailing octopuses. Not octopi. I checked it, it's octopus. What's incredible about this is even with the rush put onto you, it never pushes you to do anything out of left field. The path forward is extremely apparent and is more of a test of your ability to navigate with your aquatic controls. We get to the cave section of the evening, and this is the first time we see squawks. I'm sure they show up earlier if I looked hard enough, but it's nice to see a new animal buddy. Luckily, in this version of the game, they took out that frame of blinding white light when transitioning from another direction. I'm not gonna show it here, but if you know, you know. We head back to the Moon of Endor and try our hand at a few more difficult jumps. Me and this frog are not agreeing with each other, so I tactically decide to leave him. That's what happened here. They are really expecting you to pull off some nail-biting maneuvers here, which makes it anticlimactic that we follow this up with another fight against the giant beaver. He jumps really high this time. Sick. Now this is where the atmosphere takes a turn. Keep in mind all the lush jungle and forest you've seen so far, all the crystal clear water and temples from societies long forgotten. We finally see what crocodiles do to nature. We start with a cold mechanical factory deep in the belly of Crimcroc Industries, Incorporated. Even the name is nefariously redundant. We learn to use the oil drums as platforms. Most of the time they don't even have anything underneath them, just ominously floating over pits. First, you can clear over them, no problem. Then you have to use one as a platform with safe ground beneath you, and then you're on your own. Hope you enjoy these oddly timed sections here, because we're just getting started. Hey, welcome to Conveyor Levels. Enjoy micro-adjusting. For some reason, you can't swap Kongs while you're on this thing, and that's a real problem for these beefy boys. Luckily, this guy apparently has stage fright because I have literally never seen him descend that scaffold, which is perfectly fine by me. Now, this cave stage feels like it's finally fulfilled its environment. Before, the setting felt a little bare by only squirming through the tight gaps. Now we have the ropes and pulleys to give it the challenge that complements its foundation. I might just be hyping it up because I first tried it, but heyo, I still think it's dope. And would you believe it? They done poisoned our pond. The water is cloudy with this gnarly green hue, and that's just the tip of the issue, as this level is brutal. This guy right here is more of a prank than an actual enemy, and it's so brutal that I came down to life 0. I just gotta think back to what I was saying about patience or whatever. Okay. Alright. Gotta be the monkey. Gotta be the monkey. Come on, Donk. This is one time that we okay. The one time that we can pull this off. Okay, too many fish. Too many fish. Okay. I forgot the K, but that's alright. It's not like I can use another life right now. This is it. The big moment. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And that's how it's done. Even without any lives, I can figure this, it's a minecart level. Yeah. They really hammer in the sad music when you lose. I know I messed up, you don't need to remind me. But I'll tell you one thing, it ain't never gonna happen to me again, I promise you that. I don't know why they saw it necessary to switch up this cart level with you having to jump out of it. I know it's very funny to put us on edge, but trying to land back in these carts is a nightmare. Never fear, remember, fortune favors the bold. We come back to the factory and this time, they forgot to pay the electric bill. Oh, thank you, I'll be here all week. I actually really like the way they pull this off. You can always see yourself in key objects like barrels and bananas. This helps a lot when it comes to blind jumps like this. We cap it off with a fight against an oil drum. Amazing. Whoever thought I could survive the onslaught of 10 random enemies? Welcome to the Ultimate Zone. Off the bat, we are back on Conveyor Levels, and this time it needs constant oil. I actually prefer this over the original levels as it adds a lot of tight jumps around enemies and awareness of where they might be. Just don't lose the tire. It is tragic. This here is the final cave level, and it is a perfect send-off. You got Ramby off the bat helping with the secrets, evil tires flying out of nowhere to your death, but I wouldn't know. First try, baby. I'm a natural caveman. Rolling into the misty mines, the hardware can barely handle this effect, and it's exactly what you'd expect at this point. You think they would send this game off without a misty gorilla section? You're insane. While we're at it, let's throw in a light and dark level as well. Unlike the factory, you can still make out a good amount of the level while the lights are off. Not that it matters, because these jumping boys still keep the tension high while you're trying to discern if there's ground beneath you. On the very last platforming level, they really do it to ya. No more conveyors, no oil, nothing to help you here. These steel sheets drop immediately, and there is no wiggle room. You also have these wrestler crocs that cannot be jumped on standing on a single wide platform. Once again, very funny, we meet up with Neki again, or as they're known now, Master Neki Sr. It doesn't matter what you change your name to, it's still the same fight. But what if I told you we're about to have a good boss fight? But not only that, the final fight. That's right. We are finally ready to face the fat pirate himself, King K Rool. Alright, so the thing about this fight, yeah, you want to do a big jump, you want to throw, look out for his hat, he's going to shoot a gun at you, you want to use your feet real big, yeah, if you run around there, you might be able to hit him, but you got to grab his crown. The crown is very important, you can throw that up at him, and then make sure that you don't, get directly in his line of fire. Oh yeah, you just got, he might parry you. That might happen. This is a perfect climax. Boarding the Dread Pirate ship with your island in the background, the song begins as a jaunty sailor's tune. The deeper you get into the struggle, the more the music twists into an epic score, echoing your journey that led you to this final fight. You win, and the credits roll. Wait a minute. These guys ain't real. K Rool springs back to life, and this time he's got the hops. Luckily, it's just 3 more hits to put him down, and now you win, but for real this time. So, from this point, you slide on through the credits. We get a roll call for every enemy and good guy we saw on the way, a feature I think that's sorely missed nowadays. The 2 heroes of our bizarre adventure conclude on an awkwardly violent Three Stooges routine as we settle into the final credits crawl. So, is it a masterpiece? Yeah, obviously, but I guess it really depends. I feel like I could have told you everything about this game and why I find it to be such a remarkable experience, but the truth is that it depends on how it resonates with you. That's why I wanted to show you this game. I can easily see people disliking the things about this game that makes it so amazing to me. It's in that indecisiveness that we have such a broad range of reactions from anyone that's ever seen the game. And not for nothing, but that's a clear indication of what a masterpiece should do. And what's most exciting about all this is that it isn't the end. As the first stage unfolded into the rest of the game, this game is just the first toddling steps of a long and wonderful journey, and I cannot wait to show you more.
Here we go. The finally hit. Perform it for you. If you know the words, you can join in.